All right, let's talk about something that's going to be kind of interesting. As you can see, the name of this video is titled, A Truth for All. Good afternoon. As you can see, the name of this video is titled, Are White People Disappearing? Now, clearly some folks are going to be like, what the hell did he just say? That is the title of the video. Are white people disappearing? Finally, hello, Sir Ashley the Lioness. Good afternoon. Are white people disappearing? Now, obviously, we understand that in a country of over 330 million people, there are plenty of Caucasians among us. But what about the actual numbers? I'm going to give you some numbers as folks begin filtering in. We'll see. For some reason, the numbers on this program, I don't know if TikTok doesn't like what I just typed in, but we're hovering under a dozen. I don't know why that is. I may have to reset this. I don't want to get too deep into the topic until we can find out what the hell is going on. But that's what we're going to try to ask. Normally I would have over 100 people here right now. So looks like the shadow band folks might have a hold of the program. But that's what I'm asking. Are white people disappearing? Okay, it looks like it may be working now. JSO 481, good afternoon, and I'm good. Are white people disappearing? And the reason I'm asking that is we've all heard about the replacement of greatness theory, and we talked about that on a previous program. Thank you, Sling. Appreciate those. Shout out to Mayweather on those gloves. I appreciate that. But are white people disappearing? And where is that coming from? What's making folks say that? Well, let me run some numbers by you guys, and you can tell me what you think. From 2010, let me see here. What is this? Hassami stand. First, you have to look at whiteness as a concept based on purity. Okay, I guess I could understand. Let me just put it this way. Are Europeans disappearing? How about that? But that's the question we're posing. Are white people disappearing? Now, the savage gentleman says, no, they're not. I love the name, by the way. Then where is it coming from? Where is the replacement of greatness theory? I'm rewording it so it doesn't trigger the censors. But where's that coming from? That somehow white people are being replaced. Now, I'm going to run some numbers by you if I can get a chance. I see it as white or black. We bleed red, and that will never change. That's true. That is true. Pure white people, yeah, I mean, everyone is blending or a different race. And that's also a fact. Now, what do you say? They was never supposed to happen. I don't get that with Scuba Steve. Here's some numbers I'm going to run by you. From 2010 until 2020, the white or the Caucasian population in America went from 63.8% of the population to 2020. It's now at 59.7% of the population. That is a 4.1% drop. However, now let's compare that to other groups in the country. The black population during the same time span, 2010 to 2020, went from 12.3 to 12.6. So essentially the black African American population kind of remained stagnant. 0.3% increase. I would assume that's probably because there's not a lot of African Americans that migrate over here. I mean, where we get Somalians and not a lot of dark cultures are migrating to the United States. Hispanics, on the other hand, blew the hell up. 16.4% of the population was Hispanic in 2010. Now it is 18.6%. So that's a significant increase. Now, we can argue about the immigrants. Do they have a lot of children? Whatever the case may be. But that is a 2.2% increase. And even the Asian population went from 4.8% to 5.9%. So that is a 1.1% increase. Point is, all of the categories, blacks or African Americans, Hispanics, and Asians all went up. Meanwhile, the Caucasian population went down by a significant margin. Even when I mentioned the Hispanics going up by 2.2%, which is the biggest increase among a group, the white population went down by 4.1%. So that is a significant decrease. That is the biggest change of any population group. And unlike all the other population groups, their population went down. So Ashley brings up a really good point. And you say, hence the abortion law. Now, you believe that abortion is being banned to somehow increase the white population? There could be a decent ring to that, because in addition to trying to ban abortion, there's a lot of folks who are trying to ban contraceptives as well. So they're trying to essentially make having sex be in regards to procreation. I mean, every bullet I fire is not meant to hit a damn target. So, yeah, when they start doing that, it really, really takes it to a different level. Ashley says to keep them around more, up to 65 white women get abortion. 65%. Wow, really? Yo, this guy always go to the glory hole. I don't know what that means, user A2. I have never used the glory hole, but it looks like fun. Because we're tired of our own people. Let's face it. White people is ruining for us all. Eden, I hope that's not the case. I hope white folks are not ruining it for us all. But it does appear that out of every single category, all of the other groups have went up. African Americans by only a little bit, Hispanics by a lot, and even Asians by a full 1%. Meanwhile, the white population has went down by 4.1%, the largest change of any other population groups. And unlike all the other population groups, the white population went down while all the other ones went up. So when they start talking about the idea that there may be some kind of replacement of greatness, this kind of theory, I'm rephrasing the words, this could be where it's coming from. The Caucasian population is indeed going down. There's no denying that. I believe, we're talking there right now, the Caucasian population is only 59.7% of the American population, and that's from 2020. So my numbers I gave you went from 2010 to 2020. So we're on 2022 already. So chances are that 59.7% majority that was held by Caucasians has probably went down even more. Let's see here. So what? What does that says? Apple user. Yeah, I'm in category with you. So what? We're all Americans. Like someone said earlier in the broadcast, we all bleed red. So what? Well, you have a group of people that think that Caucasians are being replaced. That's why we're bringing this up, is that there are folks out there who believe the Caucasians, there is some type of deliberate attempt to replace the Caucasian population. Sorry about my lighting here. For some reason, the sun or something is there, so I can't do nothing about that. The real problem is the little hat people. What is a little hat person? Trump lost 110%. Okay. It's not white people. It's the ones who hide in that group. I don't know if I quite get that comment. Democrats are ruining it. Wake up. Okay, TikTok. Democrats are not the ones talking about the replacement theory, though. That's not coming from the Democratic side. So keep that in mind. Stay on topic. Whites are the minority in the USA. Not yet. And that says FNBR, not yet. Like I said, as of 2010, the white population represents 59.7%. So it's getting close. It is getting close. Now, when you say when you say that you suggest that whites are the minority in the United States, then who's the majority? I mean, give me another group of people in this country that you see more than white people. Who's the majority? That doesn't make any sense. Now, if you compare the white group and you literally list everybody else under the category of others, then yeah, the white population is soon going to be the minority because you're grouping everybody else up as one. You got whites and then you got others. Yeah, the others will eventually overtake the whites. I agree with that. More Mexicans than black. And why would you be upset about that? What's the real reason? HS, I'm not upset about it at all. I'm bringing this to you folks because there is a theory that there is some type of replacement out there. There are folks who believe that the Caucasian race will be replaced. That's why I'm bringing it. I'm not upset about it. Makes no difference to me. That's why they're trying to make abortion illegal to keep us around. You're not the first one in this forum to say that. There are folks who do believe that. I don't understand it. Wow. The little hat people control 98% of the wealth. Who are the little hat people? Oh, wait a minute. You're talking about Israelis? Oh, no. Oh, no. It took me a minute to figure that out. You're talking about the yarmulke. Oh, my. Why do they get blamed for every damn thing? Why is that? It is crazy how we just start off with George Soros or the Rothsteins or the Rothschilds. I mean, they get blamed for everything. I don't understand it. 13% of the population and 56% of the crime. Black is beyond beauty. That's not true. That's not true. And I understand if you look at what's going on in our penal system, you look at the incarceration rates, it does look like African Americans are committing all of the damn crime. But when you look at shit like the war on drugs, for instance, you have a lot of politicians, even Caucasian politicians, even on the Republican side of the aisle, that openly admit the war on drugs was unfair towards African Americans. And that represents the most folks who are serving time right now. It's folks who got caught up in drug crimes. So if they admit the way the penalties were handed out for drugs was biased against blacks, and then you look at when you look at the amount of inmates we have, and you notice that most of them are in there for drug crimes, then when you say 13% of the population, but African Americans commit 56% of the crimes, I have to ask you, are you taking that into consideration? That you got a lot of law enforcement, judges, politicians that admit our system has been tailored against blacks since at least the 1980s until when did the drug war end? We know it kicked off in the late 1970s, early 80s. When did it end? Because they're admitting that that system was unfair, and our numbers show that most of the people in prison is based on that particular incident. So you got to look at that. It hasn't ended, is what some folks are saying. My dream is for all races to continue to mix until we are all of one color. You may get your dream, and by the way, it's fun helping that one out. But anyway, that could happen one day. That absolutely could happen one day. I digress. So much wasted time. Y'all still talking about skin tone. We have shit going on affecting all tones. Denise Frazier, has there ever been a time in American history where skin color didn't matter? Really? The only difference is the folks that who are actually speaking about it. But there has never been a time in U.S. history, from the time Christopher Columbus landed on the shores of the mainland, skin color mattered. Period. The real Rick Ross will tell you all about it in the book. It was good. I like Rick Ross. I watch him on Vlad TV all the time. The stats are not based off prison population. What are you talking about? Well, okay, let's take prison population out of it. You name the stat. You look at the way police are dealt out. They even admit stuff like stop and frisk was biased. So if I stop more African Americans than I do Hispanics, if I stop and randomly frisk more African Americans than I do Hispanics or any other group, you're going to tell me I'm not going to find more crime on African Americans? I mean, how many folks in this country smoke weed? Weed has been illegal in this country for most of our lifetimes. If you stop and frisk anybody that's randomly walking down the street, but you're particularly pointing towards one group, you're going to find more weed on that group. Because the other groups you're not stopping are walking by with joints, got an ounce in his pocket, you're not stopping them. So even if you look at it from ignoring the incarcerated population, just look at it from stop and frisk. Look at it from random stops while you're driving in your car and they pull you over. Politicians from all backgrounds have admitted, at least in the last couple decades, that African Americans have been targeted on all of these levels. And I'm not just talking about from a Democrat, not just talking about it from an African American standpoint. I'm talking about plenty of Caucasians, plenty of police chiefs, plenty of mayors have admitted this shit. So if you target one group, it should surprise you not that you find all of the crimes predominantly from that group. That's what you're focusing all of your effort on. They've admitted this. It's not my statistics. It's not your statistics. This is the cops coming out and telling you, yeah, we've been doing this shit. Trump is our savior and he will save the black man. I love it. I get that every time. Maybe, if he's in favor of criminal justice reform, it certainly would help. And he did talk about that. Wow, the TikTok drama queen. I love it, Thomas Vision. You always here. So you would be my Jack. These crackers oh my God. I always read the comments, and let me make it clear. This is a no snowflake zone. I don't stifle free speech. A lot of shit come at me, and I read those too. These saltines don't believe it unless they see it with their own eyes. Even then, they deny it. Well, let me say this in regards to that comment, because obviously we've denied a lot of our sins throughout history. Most of us believe that America is by far the best nation on earth. There's nowhere better you can be than here. After all, why would everyone want to come here? That's what we always hear. You don't like it here? I help you pack. Get out. These are common phrases. One of the reasons, at least if you asked your humble correspondent, yours truly, why there is often denial on this is because you cannot say this is the best country on earth if you are forced to admit this shit and that shit is taking place. We like to point to Saddam Hussein mistreating his own people. We like to point to Zelensky and Ukrainians being corrupt, or Vladimir Putin has now banned social media, Facebook, TikTok, YouTube, etc. If you have to admit simply being a different color can get you stopped by police as opposed to another, then you probably don't live in the best country. And I understand why folks are hesitant to admit this shit, because it would make us it would embarrass us on the world stage. So I understand it, and we'll leave it at that. Okay, going on to the next comment. What's new, Mr. Bill? I don't get that one. Oh my God, FK, MAGA, and WS. Tell us how you really feel. There's reasons to be MAGA. Everything about MAGA is not bad. Norway beats the U.S. in most stats. That came from Brandon Jones. Well, you know, and I've lived overseas myself. And that was one of the things, because Oslo, Norway was high on the list when I decided to go and live abroad. I chose between Oslo, Norway, Vancouver, Canada, and I also looked into Australia. And what you're talking about in regards to Norway surpassing the United States in most stats, I was looking for countries with a very high standard of living. And Norway is one of those countries. So when you suggest that Norway beats the U.S. in a lot of stats, I do agree with that. So does Canada in some areas, and particularly Vancouver, Canada. That area over on the western side of Canada, the southwestern portion of that country, they have a very high standard of living. I ultimately chose Australia because of the weather and the language barriers would not exist, and I could speak the languages. And I lived over there for a number of years. This is growing up privileged. Some folks deny that exists as well. Ghana was peaceful, loved it. True to, the thing about it is when we talk about nations on the continent of Africa, I will be the first to admit us Americans, even African Americans, we're fairly ignorant on that. We do not discuss what takes place in Africa very much at all. Like you look at what's going on with Putin attacking Zelensky, or the Russians going into the Ukrainians, and all of those atrocities that we're seeing is happening to the Ukrainian people. That shit's been happening in Africa most of our lifetime. Somewhere on that continent of Africa, whether it's the Congo, Rwanda, there has been genocide and some shit that is way worse than what's happening in the Ukraine most of our lifetime. And unfortunately, the American elite, politicians, those who are trying to make money from war, et cetera, we do not cover what happens in Africa. But yeah, you want to feel sorry for the Ukrainians. I don't know. I'm not going to go into the racial comment, but I will just say maybe seeing dark folks suffer doesn't have the same effect. I don't know. And I'm not going to call anybody a racist or anything like that, but I'm just simply saying when it is darker countries suffering, they do not get the same attention. Syria is another example. Putin went into Syria first. He's in Ukraine now, but Putin was in Syria before that. And the atrocities were equally as bad, if not worse. I used to use for some of these discussions the phrase shot in Syria as a search on YouTube until they start banning all the videos. But there were some serious, significant atrocities coming out of Syria. And for some reason, we didn't give it a lot of attention. No, Putin was there. Russia has always had a footprint for decades. I'm talking about the mayhem that took place with, what is his name? Assad or whatever the current leader of Syria is. Democrats got so much they are hiding. When lose that power, it's about to be history. Thomas Vision, I do subscribe to the theory that Democrats are about to lose power. The Biden administration is not doing a good job. It would not surprise me to see a trouncing, or as Obama once put it, a shellacking in the midterms. That's kind of par for the course. And also, too, for a first-term president, they usually lose in the midterms. George W. Bush lost in the midterms. Barack Obama lost in 2010, hence the term shellacking. And President Trump also lost, which is why Nancy Pelosi regained power. So it happens. And when you're performing as poorly as Biden is on the economic numbers, and his poll numbers are horrible, yeah, it's probably going to happen. The U.S. is what you make out of it, says Mark Henson 109. Yeah, but you should be able to judge the United States honestly. It should not be a case in a free country where you have constitutional rights to tell someone, if you don't like the country, leave. That should never come out of anyone's mouth. Anyone who truly is a constitutionalist, who believes you have rights, which the First Amendment, very first damn amendment, allows you to criticize the country you're in. What do you think the soldiers are fighting for? So the notion that, well, if you don't like America, I'll help you pack, or that, yeah, that I've never been a fan of that. Why did Joe Biden, a warmonger, just deploy 500 soldiers into Somalia after Trump withdrew? Keep America Great 2024. You know, it takes me at odds when I know that the vast majority of folks who support Trump now, if they voted a couple decades ago, they probably voted for George W. Bush. The idea that we come up now in 2022 and suggest that President Biden is a warmonger? Are you serious? President Biden? Even President Obama got us involved in more shit than Biden. Out of all of the presidents you've had in your lifetime, I would definitely say we didn't get into any significant conflict under Trump. So he would probably be the least of warmongers. But Joe Biden would probably be in second place. Certainly Obama and absolutely George W. Bush would be higher on the list. Even Reagan and Clinton. Is Biden a warmonger? Really? Just come on and say, I hate Biden. It would be a little easier. My man, we have been feeding African people for years. Yeah, that is true. There's a lot of corruption in Africa. I don't deny that. There's certainly, when you see Sally Struthers, well, she's no longer on television, but when they used to have those specials, Send Money to Africa, USA for Africa, We Are the World. Remember that if you're around in the 80s. That money doesn't go where it should go. It's almost like Black Lives Matter money. That money is not going where you want it to go. It's going where they control it, and oftentimes it's being used in corrupt manners. Sometimes it's even funding the killing of people in the future. They're using it for war machines. Colonial's ideology and no respect for indigenous people's rights is a real problem. That says shit's got to change. I love the name, and that is 100% true. Colonization, that's the word I'm looking for. Colonization has obviously caused a lot of problems on Earth. Now, we're one of the best countries on the planet, and it's predominantly due to colonization. So there's, I suppose, if you really look at it, there's some pros and some cons to it. But yeah, no doubt colonization is, that's where smallpoxes came into. How many languages and religions have been completely eradicated due to colonization? Your humble correspondent, the guy you're looking at right now, I don't even know where the hell I'm from due to colonization. So, yeah, there's yeses and no. I don't know what my culture is. I don't know what my original peoples ate. If German got their sauerkraut or whatever, the Hispanics got foods they like to eat, we don't fucking know. We don't even know what our culture is. So, yeah, colonization does have some problems. You're civilized due to colonization, says Anun 1871. True, but what civilization also has pros and cons. Let's look at, say, the Native Americans. When Columbus came here, the natives were not technically civilized. They were all tribes. Now, we've come here and civilized the country. Is that better or worse? Look at the environment. The Native Americans, when they slaughtered an animal, it was done for survival. They used every part of the animal, and they didn't slaughter too many of the animals. We came over with capitalism. There are animals that are completely extinct extinct because of that. Same thing with the environment. They farm the environment for human survival. When you do shit for profit, you don't stop until you stop profiting. As long as you can make money, you keep doing this shit. Even if it means destroying the land, destroying the animals, you don't go and fish at the lake for one fish to feed your family. If you're making profits off the fish, you throw a damn net in there and you take every single fish you can get because you're making money off of it. So there are some pros and cons to civilization. We have made this country great, but it has been at the cost of a lot of different species, a lot of different people. Folks have lost their religions. I mean, all of that shit, period. So you can go both ways with that. Somebody said, not we, them, says Jermaine Collins. Then Europeans came here. They helped natives to fight against native cannibals, says Thomas Talk USA. You're saying Europeans came here and they helped the natives fight against the native cannibals. Yeah, but there's no denying, despite what the Europeans did to help the natives when they came here, there is no denying that the native population was better off before the Europeans came here. They had total access to the entire country. Now they are pretty much marginalized in small pockets. They have no voting power, little to no representation in the country. So, yeah, I'm sure there's some positives that came with the Europeans, but most of it, if they could go back, they would probably undo it. Let's see here. Well, a black friend introduced me to a lot of Southern cooking and loved that. Nothing wrong. I love Southern cooking too. Shout out to Paula Dean. The way she cooks, you can call me an N-word all day long, but make sure you make them cheese grits. I love Paula Dean. But I will say this. It would be nice to know what our actual culture is. I mean, to know what our actual language was or when we were brought here, we lost everything. Whatever religion you had, if you came over here talking that shit, they killed you. Even your actual fucking name was taken away. You seen the scene in Roots where they're making a guy call himself Toby as opposed to Kunta Kinte. So even your names are gone. I mean, my name is Tim. You take me to the country I'm from and go tell a person your name is Tim. That would be laughable. So we literally lost every single thing. We don't even know what our typical names even sound like. I like Trump, but what he said about Somalia, it's a shithole country, I'm assuming. I mean, let's be clear. The numbers I just gave you just a second ago, which is the title of this piece, are white people disappearing? That's what I asked. And I gave you these numbers for those who just tuning in. In 2010, there were, out of the American population, 63.8% of it was white. In 2010, skip up 10 years when they took the next census. In 2020, 59.7% of the U.S. population was white. So that means whites lost 4.1% of the population. Now let's talk about the other groups. Blacks represented 12.3% in 2010. 2020, they represent 12.6%. So there's not a big increase in blacks. And I've stated probably because there's not a big immigration population coming from darker countries. A few here or there. I mean, most of us do not have Somali or African areas of our towns. You all have a Hispanic area. Most cities have an Asian area, but on the really grand scale of things, we don't immigrate or we don't take in a lot of very dark immigrants. Maybe that's where Trump was talking about Somalia. The Hispanic population, 2010, they represented 16.4% of the population. In 2020, they represent 18.6% of the population. So blacks only went up 0.3%. Hispanics went up 2.2%. Now, even the Asians went from 4.8% in 2010 to 5.9% in 2020. So that's a 1.1% increase for Asians as well. So the biggest change in population has been among whites. And unlike all of the other groups, the white population made a change downward. All the other groups increased, which is why I'm asking the question. And this is in regards to those who suggest that there is some type of replacement of greatness, a theoretical replacement taking place. This is in regards to that. So when you ask the question, are white people disappearing? I'm going to say no, but they're certainly blending in or losing their overwhelming majority. Every white person disappears when they die, okay? But do they leave a legacy behind? And some folks suggested in the comments that this might have something to do with the abortion ban. It's because the overwhelming number of majority of abortions are had by white women. And if you ban abortions, you're going to I guess the fallout result of that is you're going to produce more Caucasian babies. So that may be the aim. What do you think? Do you think that trying to increase the white population has something to do with the abortion ban? And make no mistake about it, they are entertaining a contraceptive ban. I'm not saying that that shit's going to happen. I'm not trying to fearmonger anything. But there are actual politicians that are submitting statements or legislation that they want to ban contraceptives as well. So that it makes it so that sex, just taking all the damn fun out of sex. Every shot I fire is not meant to hit the damn target. Don't come to the range and start moving my paper around. If I miss, let me miss. Do not come to the range and go down range and move the damn target so that the bullet hits. That's what it sounds like is happening here. Not per pop, but total abortions are mostly black. I know percentage wise, I believe minorities request more abortions than whites. But when you look at one group representing the majority of the population, abortion for abortion, just in sheer quantity, I would assume it would have to be whites. And I meant to look that up. We're going to have this same topic on the broadcast tonight. And folks, for you who have never seen this, feel free to follow the channel. Helps out the analytics. You'll get notified when we do this at 7 p.m. And at 7 p.m. we actually take callers, so you can basically come on here live and tear me a new one if you want. This is a no snowflake zone, MAGA friendly audience. My primary viewers are MAGA oriented, but liberals are welcome here too. So 7 p.m. I appreciate those who do follow. If we were to keep abortion, need to abolish child support. Hard knocks. I don't get that. Okay, so you're suggesting that if you can keep abortion legal, you need to. I don't understand where you're going with that. I'm not going to put words in your mouth. I'm having a hard time or a difficult time interpreting that. I will ask you to elaborate on that. It's not white even in total quantity. So Jacob Carl, you're suggesting that even in quantity, more abortions are performed on African Americans than whites. Then that would represent a large decrease, or at least holding back, of the African American population. Because the African American population, even according to my 2020 numbers, only represent 12.6% of the population. So you're saying more abortions are performed in that 12.6 number than in that 59.7 number? Based on what you're saying, if that's true and they ban abortions, it's going to literally explode the African American population. If what you're saying is true, and you definitely have motivated me to look up those numbers. I didn't look that up, but I really want to know now. Because of most of the problems in the USA. Jim, what are you saying causes most of the problems in the United States? I bet I was pulled over by cops way more than most, says Ryu. Why though? If you were, why? I mean, and this is something I often say when folks go, well, cops kill more whites than blacks, or they mess with us. If that is the case, if I'm complaining that the cops are messing with me, and in reality you feel they're messing with you more, then why the hell are you over there talking about Blue Lives Matter and I support the cops? You should be coming over here with me, and we should both march down to the police station together and ask them to fix this shit. Why would you counter me in favor of the people that are fucking with you, if what you're saying is true? What up, brother? Missouri here. Good evening, good afternoon, Missouri. Yikes, MAGA. What's wrong with MAGA? What's wrong with MAGA? I love me some MAGA. Let me get my shit out. I love me some MAGA. I don't have a problem with MAGA. Obviously, I don't like the extremes, but then again, I don't like the extreme left. I like that we can actually have a conversation. You can see my name, and I make it clear who I like talking to, and we can have a conversation. What's wrong with that? Do African Americans have a country to claim? MK winners. As far as I'm concerned, the minute you're born here on this soil, that's your country. Now, a historical culture we may be absent of, but this is our country too. What does that song say? These are my people and this is my land. What about that shit? That makes no sense, says T in the house. I love the name, but what doesn't make any sense? I make it clear this is a no snowflake zone. I do not censor your comments. If you get censored here, it is social media. So if you think I'm saying something that's out of pocket, crazy, ridiculous, feel free to let me know. Tell me where to F off, but specify what the hell you're talking about. I just actually heard up to 60% of abortions are white. And that's what I'm assuming, that just simply because there's so many more white people than black, it would be difficult to believe that more abortions are being performed on black people. But someone in the comments said that, so that's why I mentioned it. Brandon for isn't something, kind of wish we were all mixed race so racism wouldn't be a thing. No, it would just go to classism. Or they might get you in a historical context. Because remember, there are folks who believe that remember back in the day, you could be as white as the sky on a bright sunny day and they would tell you, if you got 1/8 of African American or something in your blood, you're impure. Well, if everybody is mixed, they may go to a system like that. Well, let me see what are your ancestors? What are your relatives? I mean, I would say as long as you have two people on the same landmass together, they're going to find a reason why not to like each other. There are days you may wake up and not even like your damn spouse. You snore too much, or that, one of your eye teeth is starting to get a little brown. I mean, you find reasons to hate people. There will always be that. These non-God believers are sure dazed and confused. La La Land, Biden, Rainbow, Twilight Zone world. Thomas Vincent, tell us how you really feel. There's way too much in that for me to unravel. Stop white hate, for God's sake. Big Red. Who's hating on the Caucasian spear right now? I love me some Caucasian. Shout out to your boy. In another life, I could have been Irish. If a woman can choose to be a mother, the father should have the same choice. Ooh, hard knock life. You living up to your name with that one. If a woman can choose to be a mother, a father should have the same choice. And we're not talking about prophylactics here, folks. We're talking about after conception. How do you guys feel about a comment like that? If a woman can choose to be a mother, a father should have the same choice. Now, I understand the rebuttal is always, well, if he don't want to be a father, he should wear a rubber, or he should wear a condom, or he shouldn't have sex, or he should keep it in his pants. Well, that argument technically could be applied to a woman as well. Can you imagine walking into an abortion clinic and somebody, if you didn't want to be a mother, you should have kept your legs closed. You should have used protection. So that argument could go both ways. This is a shit starter. I have to admit, this is a shit starter. But how do you feel about that comment? Hard knock life. That's some deep shit. If a woman can choose to be a mother, a father should also have the same choice. Interesting. I'm going to skip forward because that's pretty deep. Yep, ignore me because argument would be over, says Dave04. I skipped up. Let me make something clear to you folks. No snowflake zone. I do not run from comments. However, most of my topics can be a bit engaging, can bring out some of the most passionate among folks. I'm never dodging your comments. Let me make that clear. Shit is scrolling right and left. If I appear to miss your comment, it's just because the scroll is going. I do not run from comments. Understand that. Oh shit, where did I go? Your Democrats supply baby formula illegal coming over, but want abortion and supply some kits with. Thomas Vision, I don't get what you're trying to say. I'm assuming you're talking about they have been known to give illegal immigrants baby formula, and you're using that as part of the reason that the shortage exists or something. But your wording is so bad, I don't know where to go with that. Why women carry baby? Okay, there's some folks in here responding to that comment that if a woman can choose to be a parent, a man should have the same choice. And I'm surprised there's so many yeses that are coming in here. I'm a white American born here, but my DNA states it dates back to West Africa. Yeah. Equal rights for all. Rotten 2020. So there are folks, Rothen 2020. So there are folks who do believe that if a woman can choose whether to be a parent after conception, let me add that in there, choosing to be a parent after she's already conceived, that a man should have the same choice. Obviously meaning that if a woman comes and tells you, I just pissed on a stick and I got 2 damn lines, the dude can say, I choose to opt out. How many of you agree with that? Agree or disagree? Type that in the comments. I got 20 minutes. Agree or disagree? And by the way, normally I don't do this because I'm on lunch break and I got 20 minutes left. But I would like for somebody, anybody, who don't mind speaking their mind, feel free to send an invite. I will put you on live in defense of that. I don't want to hear somebody who says a man shouldn't have the right to choose. Everybody fucking believes that. I want somebody. Send me an invite. I will put you on live. I want to talk to you because I want to hear that. Why you believe a man should have the choice, just like a woman does, after conception. There are some disagrees. Okay, fair enough. There's plenty of disagrees in there. I was wondering, because that is not very popular in regards to society. That's not. I had to ask. Okay, Big Rick.
What's up, my brother?
Good evening or good afternoon. You believe that a man should have a choice after conception?
Yes, I do. Because one, it's between the man and the woman, but the woman ultimately has the choice on if the child is born. So prior to conception, she can abort that child.
We're talking about after conception, though.
After conception, she can actually drop that child off. If she deems herself to be an unfit mother or doesn't want to be a mother, she can drop that child off at a fire station or police station and walk away scot-free. Nobody goes looking for her. Nobody goes asking for her. And she's basically a single mother with no child after that fact. The law is not even going to come against her for dropping that child off. The law is going to say, well, she made a rational decision knowing that what was in the best interest of that child was to drop that child off. A man, once the child is born, a man has no say-so except for them to come down and sign paperwork to say that, I am the father, and now you have to be financially responsible for the child. And it's not even, the government doesn't make it mandatory for you to be a father. Then just makes it mandatory for you to be a father who pays child support, even if you choose not to be a father.
I'm letting you speak because I'm not hearing shit you say that doesn't make sense. I mean, even if you believe in protecting the sanctity of life, and I see folks in the comments are even like, damn. I mean, because you do make a point that, okay, once you've created a child, and I'm going to give it to you from the male, the perspective that most men are told. Once you have created a child and that child is actually born and out the womb, you should step up, be a man, take care of your responsibilities. Correct. But a woman, as you pointed out rightfully, can take that child to a fire station, to a priest, to the police station, to the hospital, all of these options. And no one ever tells her, you created a child, you should step up and be a woman and take care of her responsibilities. I cannot deny that. That was well
she's not even looked at as a bad person. She's actually looked at as a person who's looking out for the best interest of the child, saying that I can't take care of this child. Well, if I'm a man and, I had unprotected sex, which was my responsibility and her responsibility, but I had unprotected sex. She deemed to want to keep the child. If I walk away, I'm a deadbeat dad. If I say I don't want to have anything to do with the child, I'm a bad person. Instead of them saying, listen, you might want to find someone else to help you with raising this child, daughter or son. But I'm not the right person. I could never be the right person. I don't have the right job. I don't have the right mindset. I don't have the right maturity. That's not looked at as being a good thing. That's looked at as you being a deadbeat dad walking away from your responsibilities.
I've said this before in other debates and conversations on something similar to what you said, because you often hear that women tend to be better parents because men are known to walk away and things like that. And based on what you're stating, and I totally agree with it, is a lot of times the woman gets that benefit of the doubt because we do not hold them accountable when they walk away. You just gave multiple reasons how a woman could actually have a baby, come out of the womb, decide I don't want this baby, and exercise all of those different options to walk away that do not exist for a man. And this has nothing to do with having a uterus, carrying a child, being responsible for having a baby. We're talking about after the baby is born and outside of the womb. You still have ways to get rid of it. So I can't argue with that. Well, look, let me move it on. I got somebody else. I'll give you the last word, but I got somebody else wanting to get in. I'll let you go. Go ahead.
I'll give you a little personal. I'm an adopted son. I was given up for adoption by my mother. I met my natural mother when I was in my late 20s, early 30s. She told me the reason why she gave me up for adoption. In everybody's eyes, she looked at it like being the hero. You know, I still had a good life, and you know, my adoptive parents raised me and gave me a great life. But at the end of the day, my mother still gave up her seed. You see what I'm saying?
Yep.
And
Yep.
didn't think of the ramifications for me emotionally having to deal with knowing that my mother gave me away. So, you know, it's, I guess everybody sees it differently, but I appreciate you letting me come on, bro. You have a good day.
Absolutely. Now that was an outstanding conversation. I really enjoyed. And I agree. I don't see where he's. Oh my God. Orally, I'm gonna bring this caller on. Particular picture that's on his profile. I'm gonna let you guys look down some devices and see that. Orally, what's on your mind? Your background noise. Rail up your window or whatever. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Okay.
I'm trying to get my
Your
background
background
noise
is
away.
pretty loud, though. You got a loud background.
Is that better?
I can hear you. Yeah, go. What's on your mind?
First of all, you can only give up your child within the first year.
Does a man have that same option?
We still look bad amongst other women. We still look bad if we give up our kid. And yes, you do. It depending on the situation. I have 3 kids. The father stepped out of their lives. I've never gone after him. I don't speak to him. He don't speak to his kids. It's a fair agreement. He wants to stay the fuck out of their lives, and they don't want to know him.
But let me ask you this question. You said you haven't messed with him, you haven't went after him, but do you have the option to do that?
Do I have the option to go after him? He will have the right to his kids. He can sign his rights away.
He doesn't have the ability to sign his rights away. I'm asking you, if you wanted to go after him, the only reason he's been able to walk away from his kids.
He does have the rights to sign his, depending on the state you're in. In the state I'm in, if the man wants to sign his rights away, it is possible.
Under what circumstance? I'm under the impression that the only way you're going to sign away your rights is if there is another man willing to step up. If you go apply for welfare, for instance, they're going to come after him whether you want him or not. He doesn't have the option to sign away his rights if you're collecting welfare in any state. Did I lose you?
Oh, yeah, you don't have a choice. No, you're right. Yeah. If you collect welfare, yes, they don't have a choice. But there should be laws based on that if a father does. I'm not arguing that. But if we're talking about looking bad, I think it's both. They both look bad when you give up your kid.
Well, if you're a woman and you hand your child over, like the previous caller was saying, at a fire station or a police station or something, no one even has to know about that. How are you going to look bad if nobody knows about it? As a guy, if you
carry a kid for 9 months, everybody knows.
Not necessarily. You carry a kid for 9 months and be a single woman that doesn't have a lot of friends or family members. Every woman that gets pregnant does not have a whole bunch of people that knew she was pregnant. And I deal with some big ass brides. I know some girls that are pregnant that you can't even tell because they've been a BBW all their lives. So I'm not going to necessarily say that everybody who's pregnant has a whole bunch of people that know.
I think it's more likely that people know you're pregnant than not.
Okay, true. So let me ask you this question. I'm based on what the previous caller said. If you got pregnant and you told the guy, look, I just came out of the restroom, I got the stick right here, there's 2 lines on it, and he said, I don't want nothing to do with that kid. Do you believe legally he should be able to do that?
Yes.
Regardless of how you may feel about it, do you believe he should be able to walk out?
Yes.
Okay.
That I completely agree. They should be able to walk away.
Okay. All right. So
I believe in pro-choice. I believe I'm pro-choice. I believe that you have the right to that pregnancy, and that man not have told
I didn't like it. Unfortunately, okay, I had to drop you. Unfortunately, your signal got so bad I was not able to. You were not legible there. I don't normally like to drop callers, but there was. I mean, her signal was really broke up. Now it does sound like she actually, towards the end, have some is common with the previous caller in stating that a guy should have the ability to walk away. Now, clearly, when I asked her that question, the no's started coming in the comments. And by the way, did you see the picture? Like I said, no, this is a no snowflake zone. Free speech is paramount in here. I let folks get their point across, but did you see the picture? I really, I was fascinated. She had a picture with a no sign with a hanger in there. Wow, that was quite interesting. Let's see, Lyle. So I think we've talked before. I'll put you on. Go ahead. Can you hear me?
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Absolutely, loud and clear. What's on your mind this afternoon?
So my question is, in terms of I do believe in responsibility. So I think I'm pro-life. So I think, parents, if you get someone pregnant, or if you get pregnant, you should be responsible of raising a kid, and then for 9 months or whatever, and then give it to a adoption and all that. But my question for you is, what's stopping a guy from getting a bunch of women pregnant and kind of not take any responsibility?
No, that's a really good question. Let me say this. I really hate the notion when you hear somebody say he got you pregnant, or as you said, a guy got a bunch of women pregnant. If that woman is not yelling out the R word, not saying that she did not, because no, he didn't get you pregnant. You guys got together and created a child. I hate that. No,
Yeah.
let me follow this up by saying this. There are plenty of chicks that will get with a guy that has 5 kids already and he works at Walmart or just got out of prison yesterday and they know it. Have a baby with this guy and go, why aren't you helping me out with this kid? And you look at like, how did you ever on earth expect to get any help? You got to hold women to some degree accountable for making what is predictably a bad decision. If your baby daddy work at Walmart and he got 6 kids, don't expect any type of legitimate financial help. Why is that so hard for some folks to understand? You go after this guy who was broke when she met him, wondering why isn't he taking care of the child financially? You chose to sleep with this dude knowing he was broke. Go.
Yeah. Which I that's why I say I believe in accountability for both sides. Woman, I think that could be the same thing for a woman that could go around and sleep with a bunch of guys, and get pregnant after pregnant after pregnant, abortion after abortion, at a point that that they don't take any responsibility.
Well, in regards to holding folks accountable and responsibility, I will say this. This is very similar to the gun debate where they go, we should ban guns because people are killing each other. No, guns don't kill people. People kill people. It's the same thing here. You can only hold people accountable to a certain level. If I work at McDonald's and my baby mama work at McDonald's and we have a baby together, you can hold us accountable all you want. There is not enough money there. I mean, you want us to have this child so she cannot abort the baby. And we're only making 10, 11 bucks an hour a piece. It doesn't matter how much you try to hold us accountable. At the end of the day, there is not enough money there to raise a child. You can blame us. I mean, what are you going to do? Lock us up for doing it? And that is the problem, is that we're trying to hold folks accountable, whereas no matter what you do, there's just no finances there to do it.
Yeah, which I don't think you should be raising the child. If you can't afford it, you can give it to adoption. And there are churches that will help you either raise a kid or go through your pregnancy. There are some local organizations that will do that, but you don't necessarily have to raise that kid. There are families out there.
I get what you're saying. Let me respond because I don't have a lot of time. And I'll respond to user 417 also that said, in California, McDonald's employees get paid $17 an hour. Yeah, but gas costs $6 a gallon in it. I mean, in
Yeah.
California, they get paid more because the cost of living is way. If you got two parents making $17 an hour in California, you're not going to have an easy time raising a child. But in regards to what you're talking about in Colin and Lyle, in regards to adopting and things like that, yeah, you can put a kid up for adoption or whatever. But have you noticed the foster care system in America? It is overran with children that are not being properly taken care of. And that is right now why abortions are still legal. If you start forcing everybody to come to term, all of the children to come to term, these systems are going to explode. There are plenty of children right now that are on the adoption list that are not being adopted. So the notion that every child created is going to have a family that can't have kids and they're going to be willing to take it, that's not true. What about children that are born with birth defects? Nobody wants to adopt a child that's got a defect already, or a child that's born to, let's say you got a mom that's strung out on opioids and she realizes she's pregnant and says, look, I'm going to rehab, but while I don't want to have a child. I'm not mentally there. Who's going to adopt a baby that was born addicted to drugs? It's just, you're not going to get folks adopting all of these kids like that. Now, let me say this in regards to your statement about folks need to be held accountable. And I want you to give me your honest spiel on how you feel about this. If you want to hold people who create children accountable, why not society? If you're going to tell this woman that she cannot have an abortion and force her to create a child, shouldn't society making her have this child also be accountable for that child? Because keep in mind, without society banning abortion, that child would not exist. So society, as they would say, this is now society's child. What did Hillary Clinton say? It takes a village. So how do you feel about passing specific legislation that comes out of banning abortion to increase the amount of assistance to mothers in terms of welfare, food stamps, housing assistance? How do you feel about that?
I mean, I don't think the government should necessarily be doing that. They should leave it to private sectors and nonprofit, which they already do. And
Well,
then it
if you
should be
don't
by
think the
choice for you to contribute. You
if you
can
don't think
donate. Like,
Yeah, but that's
guys.
not that you're putting a government decision on the hands of charitable donation. I'm saying, you said you don't think the government should do it. Well, the counter argument is I don't think the government should be altering a woman's uterus or telling a woman what to do with her. If the government tells her what to do and the government is the reason that child is created, the government should be responsible for that child, not some charitable organization that had nothing to do with it. We're talking about accountability for the creation of that child. The government is responsible for that, not the church or some donor.
Yeah. So you're saying that would I be okay with my money going towards helping kids, a woman having kids and all that? Yeah, I would. Yeah, I'll be okay with that. I mean, I already do donate money to my churches. We help women through their pregnancy and all that, and I donate money to our local organization, nonprofit. I already do that.
Okay, and that's what I'm asking. I'm not talking about whereas if a woman can't have an abortion and she's broke and doesn't have the money, her only salvation is donors. I'm talking about whereas the system has stuff in place
Yeah.
or she can actually go apply for food stamps or welfare, and because you're going to ban abortion, you're going to have to increase the taxes and things like that for these systems. Charitable donations will work in certain neighborhoods and it won't work in others. I mean, if you're poor and you live in a poor neighborhood where a lot of poor babies are being born, there's not going to be enough charity in those neighborhoods. We know that. Just look at the school systems that take place in those neighborhoods now. That's never going to work because there's always going to be folks who donate to charity who say, I want my money to go to these people, not those people. That's always
Hey,
that's always been the case.
let me ask you a question, right? If you
Go
know,
ahead.
yeah, if you know you're, financially struggling, you can support a kid and all that. Like, why are you going, out there having unprotected sex and uh, and getting women pregnant? Oh, getting getting pregnant. If you know
Oh, I
financially,
Right. I agree with what you're saying 100% that you should be, if you know you cannot financially hold a child, you should be more sensible or more intelligent than that. That's fine. But we live in a society with hundreds of millions of people. You're never going to have perfection like that. So I'm saying as opposed to expecting everybody to wise up and just be responsible. Why not prepare for the inevitable, the predictable? People are still going to fuck. No matter what the laws are, people are going to do this unprotected. You can force them to have a kid, but you're not going to force their employer to start paying them more. They're going to need help. And the last thing you want to do is take a irresponsible couple that was making low wages and created a kid. You can't lock them up, but this is going to happen. You know, it's just like with the war on drugs. Well, if we increase the penalties, if we increase the time they spend in jail, maybe folks will stop doing drugs. Look how that has worked out. The same thing in this case. If we make abortions illegal, maybe folks will wise up and start using condoms. It's not going to work like that. That is not how this is going. Because the folks who are doing this are generally on the bottom end of the socioeconomical scale, the bottom end of the educational scale. They're not going to do this stuff. That's a pipe dream to me. But I'll let you get the last one. I gotta wrap it up. Go ahead.
Yeah, I don't support banning all abortions. You know, I think there has to be exceptions. That's all for. But I don't think necessarily you should use abortion. You should use abortion to just abort a baby. As
birth control.
Yeah, like as a birth control, or try to take advantage of the system. Which one of my neighbor does. She has a lot of kids, and then she collects what's it called, like money wise for having a bunch of kids. So there are some people would always try to take advantage of the government, and those are the people that we need to watch out for. And
and I understand that, and I'll go ahead and move the program along, but I appreciate you coming. I will say this in follow-up to what he said. There are going to always be what they call welfare moms, folks who are having children, no desire to work, and they want to live off the system. My immediate response to that would be, if you know a woman is that irresponsible, that unintelligent, why the hell would you want to make her a mother? Think about that, because that's what we're suggesting here. If you are irresponsible and create a child that you can't afford, we're going to make you a mom. Are you really helping that child out by doing that? So just keep that in mind, that you're picking the most irresponsible people and suggesting that, no, I don't want to let her out of motherhood. I want to make her a mom. I guess the hope is that she's going to wise up and somehow become mother of the year. It's a pipe dream. And that's what I was telling the previous caller, that I'm all for self-responsibility, but at the same time, let's be realistic here, folks. You cannot legislate responsibility. I hear this all the time when it comes to the gun debate. You can pass any law you want. Criminals will still have guns, et cetera, et cetera. Well, people are still going to fuck, which is what I told Alaska. People are still going to do this. It doesn't matter how tough you make the laws. Has child support stopped bastard babies at all? Has it stopped any of that? Has it stopped poor guys who can't afford to have children from having? No, it doesn't. Just like the war on drugs. All it does is turn it into a far worse black market, and it injures folks. I mean, how many dads are taken out of the picture, not necessarily because they're terrible dads, but child support has screwed up things. Or a mom is on the take. She knows if I have a baby by this dad, I can control him through child support. It ruins families. It doesn't help them out. It sometimes ruins families. There's a lot of families that actually may have remained intact if the mom didn't know I could take his money and get him out the picture. If she knew she had to keep him around and they had to work that shit out together, they might still be together. But if I know I can leave you and take half of your income, well, there's not necessarily as much of an incentive to try to work things out with you. For you guys who are new to the program, I'm actually out here at 7 p.m. We do this, and we definitely take callers all day, all night. Come in here, tear me a new one. Free speech is paramount. I do not censor anything. But right now, I have to go back to lunch. Follow the channel, folks. I definitely appreciate that. It helps out the analytics. And you certainly get notified when you can get on here and we can talk some real good shit. I got to go for now. It's your boy Tim, the Handsome Liberal. I'm out.